You know, with all the things that are happening in racing today, there's a call, there's a public outcry. And if any of you have read it, I actually published a letter on this exact same thing with the Pollock report about 2 years ago. And there's a call, and I don't understand why this hasn't happened, but there's a call for a commissioner of racing, one commissioner with a team. And now it's a very interesting concept. Baseball has a commissioner. The reason that Alex Rodriguez, who's a superstar, gets the same exact suspension as some poor guy in AAA who's making $500 a week for the exact same infraction is because we have a commissioner. The commissioner's job is to be transparent and not show favoritism and not show anything when it comes to making decisions. And that's what we need in horse racing. We need, let's face it, everybody knows, let's be honest here, if the leading trainer in California gets an infraction and a trainer who runs 15 horses a year and never wins in Indiana gets the same infraction, the penalty is not going to be the same. It's just not going to be, because it's all individually judged by that state. But horse racing is a sport, and it's a spectator sport. And why we have not embraced the fact that it's the same. We have football, a football commissioner. We have hockey, a hockey commissioner. When the hockey commissioner goes to a hockey game, what happens? He gets booed because nobody likes the commissioner, but that's not his job. His job is not to be liked. His job is to be fair, and his job is to be even-handed in everything he does. And if we were to get a commissioner of racing, we would be able to, under that banner, we would be able to control medication. A blanket rule for medication, not one rule in California, one rule in New York, one rule in New Jersey, one rule in Florida. I, as a trainer, I'm going to another state to run a horse. I have to check if medications I've been using somewhere is acceptable there. Everybody has their own rules. Everybody has their own rules on levels. Everybody has their own rules on administration. New York is one of the most stringent states in the union where you can't give medication, and that's a very good rule, but it's not that way everywhere. And it would be amazing to have a commission, and relatively inexpensive. And the tracks that didn't want to come on board are going to be ostracized for not coming on board if they don't join in under this commissioner, because this could only be a positive thing. We talked about the Kentucky Derby. We talked about transparency. We talked about the new way that people are looking at protecting horses, protecting health of jockeys, protecting trainers, protecting everybody. Why wouldn't we all come together under one office that is going to make decisions based on intelligence, people that know horses? You know, the biggest problem with most of our commissions is that they are run by people that don't have a clue. I've been to gaming commission meetings in New York State in years gone by where people are asking me, what's LASIX? You're the commissioner. You don't know what LASIX is? You're making rules, but you don't know anything about horses. We have a racing commission, a unified racing commission in the United States, with a commissioner who knows horses and a team under him who know horses. We're going to get great rules. We're going to be able to negotiate for the best TV rights. Everybody's going to prosper, and there'd be no reason to fight this. Everything would be uniform. Everything would be normal. No matter where you go, it would be the same. And everybody would have the same set of rules. And everybody would have the same set of penalties. And there would be no favoritism. There would be a level playing field. If you do this, This is your penalty. If you do that, that's your penalty, no matter what state you're in, no matter how many horses you have, whether you're a big guy, a good guy, a bad guy, a cheater. The commission is going to make the decisions with an even hand based on what you did. And they are going to be there to fight for us. And now let's talk about it. Let's talk about a commission. Maybe with salaries and office space, it costs $1 million a year to run a commission. You break that up between the 40 or 50 racetracks across America based on what their handle is. Maybe New York pays 100 or 200,000, a drop in the bucket of that yearly salary. Maybe Santa Anita, the big tracks all pay a couple 100,000 apiece. That's nothing for them. And they support the commission and they will make it work. But it's nothing to fear. It's a commission that's going to make intelligent decisions, that's going to be there as a friend, and they're going to be there as a foe. And they're going to be making decisions based on the facts, even-handed and transparent. And I think this business has to accept the fact that it is not just horse racing, it is a sports venue, one that is gambled on, just like baseball, football, hockey. There is not a pari-mutuel sport out there. There is not a sport that involves gambling that does not have a commissioner. And I think we need a commissioner, and we need a commissioner who's intelligent and who knows the business. And that could only be a positive. And I'm sure there's going to be people out there who disagree with me and they have what they consider to be good reasons. But if it's a transparent, even, fair commission, they're fighting for us for good, fighting for us for bad. That doesn't take away the steward's duty of controlling the backside and controlling what their jurisdiction is. All it's going to do is it's going to move the major decisions to a body that is going to make fair, even-handed decisions, not based on, oh my God, we need this leading trainer here, we can't screw him, or he's a good guy, or he's a friend, or, you need a commission. We need a commission, and I think racing and the public would be much better off with a commissioner and a staff to make the major decisions and to also work for us to secure television rights and all the things that we are probably lacking right now. Let me give you a perfect example. Maybe I'll give you a couple of examples of where I think a racing commissioner could really help this industry. A trainer, we're not going to use any names, but a trainer in Louisiana came up with a positive for a muscle relaxant that is a therapeutic drug. It's a drug that people take, a drug that we give horses when they have tight muscles, and we're just trying to make them feel better. It's a muscle relaxant. And so the trainer in Louisiana goes to the commission and he goes through all the investigations and everything. And what probably happened is the horse either maintained it in his body a little longer than he should have, because horses metabolize things in different ways. And sometimes you could give two horses a shot of the exact same drug at the exact same time, and take a blood on that horse 24 hours later, and one horse could be completely gone and the other one could still have some in his system. It's just the way horses metabolize drugs. So more than likely, in both instances, the drug was administered a little too close, or the horse metabolized it, too slowly. And the trainer in Louisiana went through all his investigations and he got a 6-month suspension. The trainer in New York, he comes up with the same positive for the same drug. It's not going to make a horse run faster. It's for a horse that has a sore muscle. It's a muscle relaxant. And he got a 10-day suspension. 6 months in Louisiana, 10 days in New York. The proper, what probably would have been 20 days, 10 or 20 days. 10 days is a much fairer way of looking at this drug, because it was not a drug that was administered to win a race. It was a drug that was administered to make a muscle sore horse feel better. In both instances, both trainers were what I would consider leading trainers in Louisiana and in New York. If we had a commissioner, there would be a unit, especially if, let me rephrase that. If we had a commissioner that was a horseman that knew that that drug, methocarbamol, was not a race enhancer, was used to help a horse that has sore muscles, it's going to be much closer to 10 days than 6 months. But in Louisiana, they're judged by a racing commission where nobody knows anything about horses, and 6 months is more of a standard. And in New York, it's always been a steward's decision, and most of our stewards are horsemen. Most of our stewards have worked on the backside or come up through. They're sons of trainers, jockeys, everything, and they're a lot smarter. But if we had a racing commissioner, that rule would be set. Both trainers would do the exact same amount of time based on an intelligent decision based on what the drug is and what the concentration was in the blood. 6 months is enough to put a man out of business, and that guy is still fighting that to this day in court. And 6 months is a lot of time for just giving a horse something that is helping him and nothing to do with winning or losing a race. So that's a perfect example of why we need a commissioner. If that was the case, it would have been the exact same penalty in both places, and it would have been an intelligent amount of days, not something to put a man out of business. Let's talk about, there's an uproar. Talking about a racing commissioner, there's an uproar these days from the public. We're getting a lot of pushback from the public about medication rules. And nobody in our industry has been able to come up with rules that are blanket rules. Nobody. Kentucky fights the rules if they don't like to change. New York fights, California fights. Nobody can seem to get a standard set of medication rules because most of our people that are making the rules don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. They don't know. They're not horsemen. They're not. I would much rather be judged by an ex-trainer or an ex-jockey than by a guy who has come up through politics and got placed into a commission because he's politically connected. That's what we're being judged by. A racing commissioner could come up with rules, standardized rules from one coast to the other. It would make life so much simpler. Like right now, we have two senators that have never spent a day on a racetrack, Tonko and Barr. Good guys, they're well meant, and they're trying to pass a uniform medication bill in Congress. But they're not horsemen. And I understand the horsemen fighting against that bill because a guy is trying to put a bill out there that's never spent a day on a racetrack. But a racing commissioner could put a bill out there that was well thought and well instrumented and actually accomplish something. And that's another reason why we need a racing commissioner. And it's not all about medication and rules. It's not all about negative. A commissioner is going to be there in the trenches fighting with NBC for every television dollar, fighting with all our signals, fighting for our signals, our money on our signals, our betting handle, making sure we get the right amount of money out of Vegas, making sure that we are paid for the product that we're putting on display. We're getting paid for everything we do. So there's a lot of positive that could come out of a commission, but the biggest positive of a racing commission right now in 2019 is the sense of security that the public, who really have lost faith in racing, the public will feel once they see that we are trying to make a change and we have instituted a racing commission. I think that the public would love a move like this, and it would be step one in winning back the people who have pretty much written off racing.